play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew and Luka here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to our next review, assuming that you watched the Stormcast Eternals one first.
Part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of part 2.
Or part 1 if you're not interested in the Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah, if you didn't care about them and you started here, this is part 1.
This is the Nighthaunt review.
Yes.
We're much better book, obviously.
I'd say much more exciting book.
Yes.
Because
the Stormcast aren't, they're new-ish.
Well, the Nighthaunt aren't new either.
You're right. That's fair.
But they finally got their own battletome.
Yes, they didn't feel full yet. Now they're finally full. And I'm very surprised with Games Workshop because I figured with the items Deepkin, they were going to kind of stop with the new models for a bit. It's like all hands on deck, Age of Sigmar.
Well, and the fun thing too is that it's not like other battle tomes where really you have like 1 or 2 battle lines, 1 or 2 heroes.
Yeah, these are
1 or 2 other units.
Full releases.
Like when you combine it with the older models, which are still great.
Yeah. Then
you have a rather sizable selection of models.
This is a respectable book. Like it's not like, not to like disrespect the other books, but like Fire Slayers, where you only have a few options, right? Or I guess the Daughters of Cain are a little bit better. The
Daughters of Cain had the old models to supplement them with.
Yeah, but they only had like 2. They didn't get a whole lot, but now like this Nighthaunt in general is just a full. I don't know, like I don't even know how many units they have. They have over 20, well over 20.
There's a lot.
There's tons.
Yeah.
Lots.
When you look at the General's Handbook and you see its entry, it's a sizable one.
Yeah,
not as big as the Stormcast Eternals, but nobody's ever going to be as big as Stormcast Eternals. Let's just face it. That'll always be there.
For every new release, there'll be a new chamber.
Yeah, exactly.
To keep it up.
It just keeps popping open those chambers. Yep. So let's talk about it. What do you think is? Let's start off by what do you think is the biggest change?
The biggest change is the additional 5 allegiance abilities they got. They had 1 allegiance ability before. No, I guess technically they had 2 because they had the 6-up to ignore damage, as well as the coming in from the underworlds, which they had before, which is the exact same as the old Stormcast Eternal ability, where you would put as many units you wanted in the underworld, other than you can only use the ability if you had a Cairn Wraith or 2 Banshee on the table. So you'd often see all Nighthaunt off on the side table with 1 Cairn Wraith hiding behind a building, hoping to not get tabled, and then if your opponent killed him, like, oh, I just concede, we'll start a new game, and put the Cairn Wraith back there, and like,
you're like, all right, let's do that again.
Let's just try that again until this doesn't happen. Anyways, that was changed to mimic how the Stormcast Eternal one works now, where you could put a unit on the field first, and then you could put one in the underworld. Unit on the field, unit in the underworld. It doesn't matter if you have Cairn Wraiths or Banshees anywhere. They only mattered before simply because that's pretty much all you had for heroes. You only had Cairn Wraiths, Banshees, and the Black Coach.
Well, and then you'd make the 1 your general,
yeah,
and then people would snipe it, and you'd lose the 1 ability that would be any good.
Exactly.
Of the +1 to hit,
yeah,
and everybody nearby.
And then the Night of Shrouds did come out later on for Nighthaunt, which was nice. He was also a 5-wound guy with a 4-up save that couldn't be read, and he just got sniped.
Yeah, he just got sniped. Yeah,
he was not great. I did not play a lot of Nighthaunt, and if I did, it was just a lot of Morn Ghouls to try and supplement their lack of anything, because it was just Hexray, Spirit Host. Now it's, I don't even know where to begin with all the additions. We'll get to them. We'll start at the start with the allegiance abilities. There's 6 of them, and you get all 6 of them as long as you're a Nighthaunt allegiance. There's no fancy warrior chain. What are they called?
Stormhost.
Stormhost. No fancy Stormhosts here. We're all just ghosts. We're all ghosts, one and the same. Let's start. Aura of Dread, basic one. -1 bravery for each enemy unit while they're within 6 inches of a friendly Nighthaunt unit. That's just easy to remember.
It's a standard debuff, but it's also very powerful.
I was mostly worried about having to remember all of these, but they're all fairly easy to remember. The only one I would find would be Feed on Terror. Each time an enemy unit fails the Battle Shock test, pick 1 friendly Nighthaunt hero within 6 inches of that enemy unit. Then you heal 1 wound allocated to that Nighthaunt hero. That's going to be hard to remember.
It's not too...
and it's not game-breaking.
It's going to help here and there, but it's just like 1 wound. So like you could have just killed so many guys in the Grot squad that 10 more of them ran. You just heal 1 wound.
You heal 1 wound.
Yeah.
And that's only on your hero if they're within 6 inches of that unit that ran.
Yeah.
The next one will be Deathless Spirits. Roll a this one changed. Now this is not your generic death one. This one is you have to be wholly within 12 inches of your general or a friendly Nighthaunt hero. I don't know why they stipulate that. It's of your general or a friendly Nighthaunt hero.
Yeah, I know, because your general is going to be a hero, right?
Yeah, no, I don't know why they don't just say...
A friendly Nighthaunt hero?
Yeah, 12 inches of... Regardless.
Wholly within 12 inches, though.
Yeah, so that's the
wholly
huge
within
change.
12.
So your unit has to be wholly within 1 model of that unit could be poking out a little bit with his base, but as long as he's within the 12-inch bubble, you're fine.
Really quick, because you might be watching this video first and not the Stormcast Eternals, there's 2 major changes that happened to both these books. One is that they changed most of the withins to wholly within, but they extended the range. So now you can't just be within 6 inches to get the 6 up, ignoring wounds. You got to be wholly within wholly within 12 inches. And the other one is that all those abilities that were like on a 6 or more to hit, it does this, or a 6 or more to wound, it does this. They've changed the wording of all of them in the Stormcast Eternals, and all of them in the Nighthaunt to be the unmodified die roll of 6.
So, well, I was going to say the easiest example is Spirit Host.
Yeah, well, your Hex Rays and Spirit Host, when they roll a 6, they do mortal wounds instead of their normal damage. Retributors, when they roll a 6, they do mortal wounds instead of their regular damage. Yeah. There's so many things that do things on a 6 to hit. They often mortal wounds, but sometimes they do more damage or better rend. And now it just says unmodified. So this is important because you can no longer buff them to make it happen on 5s, but you can also no longer be debuffed either. If you put a -1 on a Spirit Host, you can still do the mortal wounds on 6s.
But they're not useless anymore. Yeah, they can still do the mortal wounds on 6s, and they won't be useless anymore.
Exactly.
A lot of people would have run the Knight of Shrouds on foot with a squad of 6 Spirit Hosts or more.
Give them +1 to hit. 5+ mortal wounds.
That unit is just going to chew through any super armored, super elite kind of unit that is very good at avoiding damage. Can avoid that many mortal wounds very easily.
That'll kill almost anything.
That is not a thing anymore. They are just unmodified rolls to 6 to hit. Now, one thing to note is this is referencing the FAQ. It mentions that if you're playing Legions of Nagash, you're supposed to use the Tomb Banshee and Cairn Wraith War Scrolls in the Nighthaunt book now. And the major changes there were the unmodified to hit thing. It doesn't say that for Spirit Hosts or Hex Rays, where in Legions of Nagash, they still have hit rolls of 6+ to do mortal wounds, whereas now their new War Scroll says unmodified rolls of 6.
We're going to play it that you use the new War Scrolls from Nighthaunt, just because it's a new War Scroll for the same unit, so we always think the new one should be played precedent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just because there's no FAQ for it doesn't mean I wouldn't want that. Because I think that's a general rule anyways, if a new War Scroll comes out. The problem is if you only have the Legions of Nagash book, you don't have access to that.
And the one funny thing, though, for that is they do mention in the FAQ for black coaches. You do not use the black coach in this one. It specifically says you use the black coach in the Legion of Nagash.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So maybe I'm wrong then.
Well,
that seems a weird distinction, though.
I know, but that's the only time I've ever seen that come up. The black coach in Legions of Nagash is now changed to Legion Black Coach is its name. So they changed the name of the role.
The same model?
Yes.
Weird.
Yes. It's I would assume it's the same model because they're coming up with the new Black Coach model. They're still the old Black Coach model. That is weird. I don't know. The FAQ says Legion of Nagash Black Coach is now called Legion Black Coach, whereas this one is a Black Coach. So I don't know.
Maybe they will differentiate in the models as well as the rules, but we'll have to wait and see. We're still going to play with the new rules for the Spirit Host and the Hex.
I agree. Because I'd rather play it that way anyways. I'd always rather have the unmodified 6 to hit, because that's way more reliable than... That way you have to bring a Knight of Shrouds and there's all that. The next Allegiance ability will be from the Underworlds They Come. So we mentioned this earlier. This is where you're allowed to put a unit of Nighthaunts, hold them back in reserve in the Underworld for every unit that's already set up on the battlefield. So you can't start with putting units in the Underworld as you did before. You always have to have at least one to match the one in the reserve, which the Stormcast Eternal have the exact same ability, which is funny enough because in the previous edition of the game, they both had the exact same ability other than the stipulation of having Cairn Raids and Tomb Banshees on the field already. The next one I'll talk about is the new command ability, Allegiance ability.
You skipped the Wave of Terror one.
I'm talking about that one
last.
Which is
the most annoying one of all.
That's the last one. That's the best command ability. That one I look as an actual Allegiance ability worth mentioning. These ones are all very minor.
Shouldn't be in there. That's
now,
okay. Keep going.
Spectral Summons is a command ability that obviously any of your heroes have access to, being in the new edition. To use this command ability at the start of your movement phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit that is on the battlefield, remove that unit from the battlefield, and then set it up wholly within 12 inches of your general and more than 9 inches away from enemy models, and that counts as their movement. So you use this...
yanking them from somewhere else in the field over to you.
Yes. So you have to use this at the start of your movement phase. You can't do it willy-nilly throughout it, and they cannot move afterwards. And they have to be wholly within 12 of your general. So if you're playing against Nighthaunt and you don't want to deal with that, kill the general, and you won't be able to see this high mobility. This is one thing you'll probably see a lot, because high mobility can win you a lot of games in Age of Sigmar, specifically with how the objectives work. And then the last one is Wave of Terror. Probably the best addition to the book. I think so.
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, no, I don't know, because you have to...
It's unreliable.
Just talk about it, and we'll talk about it.
If you make an unmodified charge roll of 10+, now there's ways to give bonuses to charges.
This won't help that.
This is unmodified roll of 10+. And you don't have to be 10 or more inches away. You could be 3 inches away, or 3 or more inches away. For a friendly Nighthaunt unit, it can fight immediately after you complete the charge move. So you don't charge anyone else. You roll your 10, you move them in, fight immediately. Resolve anything on their Warscroll that says, when they fight, do this. Attacks made, all of that stuff. It's treated as if it was the fight phase. This does not stop the unit from being picked to fight in the combat phase on the same turn.
Yeah. The problem I have with this is not its power. It's that it sounds like a destruction ability.
I agree. So when Matt had originally looked at the book before I did, he mentioned this, and he went on about this belongs in Iron Jaws, this belongs in Beastclaw Raiders or Gutbusters. I agreed wholeheartedly.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you can form anything. Like the lore for this is, on many occasions, entire battalions have been overrun by a swarming Nighthaunt host without even raising a blade in their own defense.
It's like that one scene from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, there's like, what the crap? Oh, yep. Or they just didn't even see them coming, kind of thing. Yep. Because they're so far away when they started. So, lore-wise, we can make it make sense. Yep. You can make any rule make sense. Just like how the Hammers of Sigmar have the command trait that they ignore wounds on a 6+ when they're within 9 inches of the general, which is a very death-like thing. Which is why I don't like that one either. Yeah. I kind of like keeping the distinction between them. To me, destruction should be the one that if he rolls a 10+ a charge, they get to immediately fight. That
sounds 100% like destruction. Yeah. Just think about like the Ogre Kingdom in Warhammer Fantasy. If they rolled a 10+ a charge, there's the Ogre charge. They all did an insane amount of wounds in impact hits. Right? Yeah. Like that felt right. That was correct. I was never upset when that happened to me. I'm like, that's destruction.
That's cool. It's ogres, right? They should smash into me so hard that I fall over. And so it just doesn't feel right. I don't mind the power level of it.
You know what? It's an unmodified 10+. It's not crazy powerful.
It's a 1 in 6 chance. It's a 1 in 6 chance of happening. But there are ways to re-roll your charges now with the command abilities. So it's easier to get that. And so, yeah, like you're going to see it happen in the game that we play.
So watch that game.
And it's very powerful, but that is not even an issue I have. And and then watch the rest of the game to see why I don't have an issue with it. The issue I have is simply, and I'm just going to say this one last time, and then I'm going to leave it, that belongs in a destruction book.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed with this. I'm happy they have this. I was hoping they got a really new cool ability. I was hoping they didn't just have the Underworld ability. And lo and behold, I got 6 Allegiance abilities, so I couldn't be happier with that.
Yeah, that's a lot of stacking stuff. -1 bravery, plus if you fail battle shock test, you get to heal.
Yep.
Plus your charges are better. Plus you can deploy 9 inches away, get that 10+ charge, fight right away. Turn 1 alpha strikes are quite easy for the Nighthaunt right now.
And then for each command ability to have, you could just say you have 2 flanks fighting, your left flank completely won out, and your general's on the right flank needs more help. Say you have 3 command abilities, you bring 3 units, boop, right over to the right flank, and then you're just reinforcing that 1 flank again. It's a high mobility army. Now, one thing to note, it's not nearly as sustaining as the Legions of Nagash army is.
No.
And that's
not as much resurrection.
And that's a good thing, because if they were as durable as they were, this would be a strictly better book.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it wouldn't be different. It would just be better.
It would just be better. And that's... kudos to Games Workshop for doing that. I'm happy to see that. Now, this book can return models, just not nearly as well as Legions can.
It does have a slight distinction, though, for the Nighthaunt when they return models. There's no distinction that you have to place them in coherency with models that were already on the table. Yep. It says you do it model by model, and each model has to be in coherency. So if you do return like 4 models, you could chain them across.
Exactly.
But there's not as much returning models in this, so that's not going to come into play as much. Because if you can imagine a Legions or Grand Host of Nagash or Legion of Sacrament army being able to do that. It's like there's 4 graveyards and a necromancer, and so 5d3 guys come back. So we got 10 guys on average, and you're just like across the battlefield and grab an objective, or get in charge range or something, or just mess with your opponent's lines.
That ability in Nighthaunt is pretty reasonable, pretty balanced. If that was in the Legions of Nagash, it would be too much.
It'd be ridiculous.
It's just a couple paragraphs under the Allegiance abilities that kind of stipulates how you return slain models, which is just how we discuss
to Nighthaunt specifically.
It does
not change the rules for other armies.
Yeah, because when we were talking about it, you're like, oh, I hope they didn't change that with anything else. And it's just several Nighthaunt abilities.
They fixed that. That was a problem in wording before in older editions of 40k and Age of Sigmar and all that. And now they fixed it to be the other opposite.
And now they brought it back, but this is a Nighthaunt only thing.
Right.
I don't know why, but it was fine before. I would have been fine returning models before.
Necessary.
Yeah, this little stipulation seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
Next, we move on to the command traits, which have changed from the Nighthaunt ones in General's Handbook 2017. We have Hatred of the Living, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made with this general's melee attack. It used to be hit rolls of 1. That was it. Oh, and it was, they changed, it used to be unless you were hitting demons or death, now it's only if you're hitting death. So if you're hitting demons, I guess they're considered living
unless they're death.
Yeah.
Unless they're death.
That's yeah, it used to be demons or death before. So now I guess they consider demons living, so you get to reroll all failed hit rolls against them.
Or at least they're not death.
Or they're not dead. Yeah. The next one will be Terrifying Entity. At the start of your movement phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model. If the roll is equal to or greater than the enemy's bravery characteristic, they must make a retreat move in the movement phase. This is a brand new addition.
And remember that you're -1 bravery to all model or enemy units.
This is one of my favorite too.
One mistake that I made in one of my battle reports, I can't remember exactly which one it was, I think it was with the Grots, is that there was something that affected them on their bravery, and I counted their bravery as being higher because there was like 30 or 40 of them. But that only stacks when you're making a battle shock test.
Yeah.
So if you're bravery 4, but you got 40 models, you're bravery 4.
Yeah, as a characteristic.
As a characteristic still. You're bravery 8 when you're making your battle shock test. And so you put one Nighthaunt near them, they're bravery 3 all of a sudden, and then you roll a die that's equal to or greater than their bravery,
equal
and
to
they
or
have
greater.
to retreat.
They have to call a retreat. So you do this at the start of your enemy's movement phase again. This is out of the two. This is one of my favorite two command command traits that they have now. I find that all depending on what you're facing. If you're facing Grots, that's super powerful. Like it's a horde of what 40, 60 night goblins that are just going to run almost not every turn, but you reduce their bravery down to 3. And then you roll a 3+, and that whole horde is running away, not tying up your army anymore.
It's not going to be any good against Iron Jaws, who are within 3, because they have their banner to give them +2 when they're within 3.
Yep.
And so they're going to be bravery 8, 7 with your modifier.
And that'll have no effect on them.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing like Stormcast Eternals that are Hammers of Sigmar.
Well, you can still roll 6.
You could.
Liberators, but then I'll just be bringing Sequitors if I'm playing.
And then you'll have 0 effect. So this is only effective against armies with a lower bravery overall.
Yeah, so it won't work against demons, death, or anything that's elite. So it's good if you, and the nice thing is you don't have to choose your command trait until you know what you're facing.
Exactly.
So it's not considered list tailoring, because it's not like, what army did you bring? Okay, now I'll build my list. It's like, no. We actually show up with our armies, and then we pick all of our spells and command traits. And so you can tailor that to your opponent.
Now this is one of my favorite ones. I don't think it's most powerful because a lot of armies out there do have a generally high bravery. Now there's multiple ways of stacking negative bravery, but that takes a lot of work just to make that one command trait work, which might not be worth it because it only works on your general and enemy units within 3 inches of that general. The next command trait is Lingering Spirits. This is the exact same as it's just +1 to your wound characteristic. Unless you're rolling for your command traits, I don't see why anyone would pick that. Not a huge fan of that one. The fourth one, we have Spiteful Spirit. Roll a dice each time you allocate a wound to this general that was inflicted by a melee weapon. On a 5+, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all of attacks have been made. Now, I believe that was only on a 6+ before. In fact, I have it right here. Not that it matters too much. That's a new change. I'll go over here just so I can reference Chaos Lanesh. Look at all these old. Oh. Ban. What was it called? It was Spiteful Spirit. Oh no, it's a new one. There.
It's new.
It's brand new. Look at that. Terrifying Entity got changed. That's a brand new one. Cloaked in Shadows for the 5th one. Subtract 1 from hit rolls that attacks made with missile weapons that target this guy. Just -1 to hit him with missile weapons.
-2 once you put him near a unit too.
That's true.
That'll really protect
with
him.
Lagosir. And that was a difference because add 1 to this general's save rolls. So that's a nerf.
Yeah. Because I think they're going to get rid of a lot of the ones that are just +1 save.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised when if the Sylvaneth Battletome gets updated anytime soon, that they'll get rid of the 1 artifact that gives them just a +1 save.
Yeah. I think they don't want to see those saves they want to see things die.
Yeah.
They don't want to see 2-up saves that
ignore the ones
that are or ignoring the first level of Ren, stuff like that. They don't want to see 3-up saves that can ignore Rens. So they got rid of that. Now it's just -1 to hit them for shooting. That is not a bad one because when you stack that with Lookouts, there all of a sudden you can have a Knight of Shrouds on the Ethereal Steed nearby the horde of ghosts that are he's just going to be -2 to hit for shooting.
Well, and doesn't your general not get modifiers to his saving throws anyways?
Exactly. So, that's true. That's another reason, yeah, because they changed Ethereal.
Yeah.
Now, the Ethereal change has been a change for a while, so I probably don't have to go over it. They have a save that can't be modified.
Good or bad.
Good or bad, so I can't have +1 in my saving throw. This is old, back when they could have been modified.
Yeah, because this one doesn't say add 1 to his save roll characteristic.
Yeah.
Or improve his save by 1. That would then work. Yeah. This says just add 1 to his save roll. So you're like, okay, I'll add 1, but that doesn't count.
Has no effect anymore.
So buff then.
Yeah.
Because they got rid of the one that doesn't do anything and they replaced it with one that's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I would strongly consider using that one every now and then if this last one wasn't so good. So
What's the last one?
Ruler of the Spirit Host. That's the one where you... Yep.
Yeah, the one that you used.
So Ruler of the Spirit Host before augmented the roll for if your units would come in from reserve. So that's obviously pointless.
You don't need to because they don't roll anymore.
So it's been completely reworked. It is now simply at the start of your hero phase. You can pick a friendly summonable Nighthaunt unit. Now a lot of them are summonable still, or they are now. Unit within 9 inches of this general. Now it's within, not wholly within 9.
Yeah, just within 9.
It's only within 9. And you return D3 slain models. So that's D3 slain Spirit Host. That's D3 slain Hex Rays. That's not heal D3 wounds, and if you roll a 3, you can bring back a Spirit Host because they have a wound characteristic of 3. That's just bring back D3 Spirit Host. I'm probably going to be running squads of 6 Spirit Hosts just to use that.
Just so you can do that.
Or even a squad of 10 Hex Rays that he just kind of keeps up behind them because he moves just as fast as they do, and you just get D3 back every turn.
If you talk about the Knight of Shrouds on Steed.
Yes,
that's the
I'm specifically talking about him as my general. And that's really
that one's really powerful. It's not that great when you have hordes because you know the necromancers can bring back D3 of their skeletons.
Yep.
But the fact that it's D3 Spirit Hosts.
Yes. So obviously, if you're going to bring a more elite Nighthaunt list, when you have a lot of Hex Rays, a lot of Spirit Hosts, not a lot of the Chain Rasp horde, I would highly recommend that command trait. It's very powerful. Now, granted, if you're doing nothing but hordes, that's almost pointless. I'd rather just have the subtract 1 to hit him.
Yeah, I guess it's like,
just keep him more alive because your heroes in Nighthaunt, much like any other Death Army, very critical to your list. Without them, your army starts to crumble.
Yeah, as you're going to see in the battle report, and this is not a spoiler for who's going to win, I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
But at some points he had his Hex Rays not within, and all of a sudden they were really easy to kill.
They were weak.
Yeah,
very
and
weak.
It's funny how that 6+ just ekes out just that little bit of extra survivability that you feel the difference.
I regretted that so much. That
yeah.
I'm like, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because when I charge in, I'm like, I'm not going to do any damage. They got a 4-up that I can't modify, and then they ignore wounds on a 6+. So those 3 that I get through, he's going to make 1 6, and only 1 will die. Yeah. And all of a sudden I get a few through, and I'm like, okay, where's your? Oh right, you don't get the 6+. And they're just dead.
Dead.
Oh, they're just dead. Okay, that works.
Yeah. So obviously this this army highly relies on heroes being nearby. And that's it for the command traits. We go to the spell lores now. This is a brand new lore that is given to the Nighthaunt. It doesn't. Oh, it's Lore of the Underworlds. I was going to say it doesn't have a name. It does. You get 6 new spells. They're all very good in their own way. I don't think any of these really stand out to me. The first one is Soul Cage. Casting value of 6. Pick an enemy unit within 12 inches that is visible to them. They can only fight last. So they can only be picked to fight when everything else has been picked to fight.
That sounds familiar. That might be the one in the Malign Sorceries book or something similar to it.
Probably, yes. And I don't think there was anything else.
Which one? Pick 1 or 2 that you think would be really useful.
Yeah, that was the Soul Cage. So that's the first one. Yeah, Soul Cage. I think you pick your unit has that one Death Star-like unit. You just Soul Cage it every turn, and then you get to pick off at it with all. You charge with everything, and you fight it with everything, and then it's not nearly as useful because everything in this game can die. So even a Death Star unit can go down. Yeah. With enough wave of
or
attacks.
You kill enough of them that they're less effective back.
Yes. The next one I liked was Shade Mist. I think this one was pretty powerful. So this one has a casting value of 6, pretty reasonable to get off. Not too difficult. Obviously, it was difficult for me in the game we played. Spoiler alert, I didn't get it off all that much. This is the one that I picked from my one caster. You pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit wholly within 12 inches. Subtract 1 from wound rolls until your next hero phase for attacks that target them. So that's shooting.
You got that off the first round.
Yes.
And that was really annoying because you put it on a huge unit of...
The Chain Rasp horde.
Yeah, so all of a sudden there's this big horde, and I'm like, I'm -1 to wound those guys. And all of a sudden, they're just like, all of a sudden, they all got huge muscles.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at them like, hey, and I'm like, oh no, I can't hurt them anymore.
Yeah, because you can bring the Chain Rasp in a horde of 40 and then just give them -1 wound every turn.
Yeah.
And that's not going anywhere.
No.
Especially with the amount of models you can bring back.
Yeah, that's equivalent to 40k would be given a toughness bonus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like +2 toughness or something like that.
The rest are just ways to drain wounds and bring them back, or Reaping Scythe, which augment your own caster's weapons. That's not great for the caster because he's not super powerful. Now there is a named character caster that could benefit from that.
Yeah, there's probably going to be specific. Like I noticed in the Stormcast book that there's like, oh, this artifact, which both the Knight Incanter and the Lord Arcanum can take, that'll be really good for the Knight Incanter. This one will be good for the Lord Arcanum.
Right.
This spell will be good for the Knight Incanter. This spell will be good for the Lord Arcanum. Yeah. So there's going to be, I think there's always going to be the case. And there's going to be like, this is more a support character, so don't take the spells that buff the caster. Take the spells that buff something else. And then I think that's just normal for any lore.
I agree.
It depends on your caster which ones you're going to care about.
That's all mirrored here as well. We have Artifacts of Power. So before they had the Relics of the Underworld, which is their generic, like, here's my General's Handbook army. They gained, looks to be, 9 new relics. So we'll go over the Relics of the Underworld, which are the ones they had before and how they were changed. We had Cloak of Waxing Moon, which before it subtract 1 from wound rolls made for enemy melee attacks that target this model. Now it's the Deathless Spirit's battle trait negates wounds inflicted by melee weapons that are allocated to the bear on a 5-up instead of a 6-up. Now the Deathless Spirit's allegiance ability is the 6-up to ignore damage if you're wholly within 12 inches.
So if he wears that cloak, everybody within 12 inches ignores on a 5-up?
No, only melee weapons that target the bearer.
Oh, okay.
So it's only melee weapons, and it's only ones that target the bearer. So it's not that great.
No, because he's already going to ignore him on 6s, so you're only going up a little bit.
Exactly.
I'd rather get -1 wound rolls.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so it's a nerf.
Yeah.
That doesn't help against arcane. It doesn't help against mortal wounds from spells. It doesn't help against shooting. It's Pendant of the Fell Wind. It changed slightly. So
you're good.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just checking the volume, make sure I didn't die.
Pendant of the Fell Wind. Add 3 inches to the move characteristic of friendly Nighthaunt units within 6 inches of this model at the start of the movement phase. Now what it does, you add 3 inches to normal moves made by friendly Nighthaunt units that are wholly within 12 inches of the bear. So they just changed wholly and normal.
Normal moves can only be done in the movement phase.
Exactly.
Because this one said to the move characteristic, which actually is the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they're changing the characteristic. But if they said +3 move, then that would be +3 charge move, +3 pylons. Yep. All that stuff would change.
So all they did was just change the wording to kind of update it to Age of Sigmar 2nd edition.
Wholly within, yeah.
Exactly. So if you're a fan of that pendant before, didn't change. The Dreadbolt Ring, which I think is a pretty good relic. The way it changed was, if this model inflicts 1 or more wounds with his attacks in the combat phase, you can inflict a mortal wound on 1 enemy unit within 3 inches after this model has completed its attacks. Now it does more mortal wounds, because when they fight, if they inflict 1 or more wounds with their melee weapons, you can inflict D3 mortal wounds instead of 1. So it just gave it a little buff.
Nice.
That's pretty much all it was. Nothing crazy. It's cool, but I am a bigger fan of the other relics.
But you have to remember, though, that if you bring 2 Warscroll battalions, you bring in 3 artifacts.
Exactly.
And so all of a sudden, these ones that are like, this is cool, but I like this one better, it's like, well, that'll be your 3rd one then.
Exactly.
And so having these all running around and chaining off to each other, that makes a big difference.
And the one nice thing with the Nighthaunt, the Warscroll battalions are very cheap. They're 60, 80 points, 100 points. They're really reasonable, and I find them to be very effective. We'll get to them. I think you'll agree with me. The Mirror Screaming Souls. At the start of your shooting phase, roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 8 inches of the bearer. If the roll is higher than their bravery characteristic, they suffer 1 mortal wound. It's the same over here.
-1 bravery if they're within 6 inches.
So if you get within that 6, then you're probably going to be doing a lot of mortal wounds around you, because you get to roll 2d6 against their bravery.
And that could even work against demons and death, because their bravery 10 would be down to 9.
Yep. So as long as you roll 10 or more, it's 1 mortal wound.
Does it equal to their bravery or higher than
it has to be higher.
Okay. Still, 1 in 6 chance against something that's bravery 10 is not bad.
And they kept the Midnight Tome. It does the same thing as before, where you could put it on a hero, and they become a wizard. They would know the generic spells, and they could cast 1 spell. And if you put it on, the addition here is if you put it on a model that's already a wizard, they can cast 1 more spell. That's pretty much it.
That's actually a nice addition.
It is.
Changing something into a wizard is nice, but having one of your more powerful wizards be able to cast a 2nd spell.
Exactly. Upgrading a level 1 wizard to a level 2 wizard, that's a relic worth taking. I find often that if I want to bring endless spells, I'm kind of stuck using my 1 built-in spell already, or the spell I took, and then the endless spell is like an afterthought. Now if I have 2 spells, that's an endless spell you can throw out if you wanted to. Last one, we have the Covetous Familiar. At the start of your combat phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the bearer. On a 2-up, they suffer a mortal wound. It changed from a 4-up to a 2-up. It's okay. It's
every enemy unit within 3 inches.
Oh, it is every enemy. Did they change that one?
No,
it is the same thing.
Each enemy unit and every enemy unit, or whatever.
So it's each enemy unit within 3 suffers a mortal wound on each.
That can chain.
Yep.
Well, once again, it's hard when it's side by side with other ones that you like more.
Exactly.
But once again, if you're able to bring multiple artifacts, then that becomes useful.
Now, we have 6 new weapons in addition to the Relics of the Underworld. I'm only going to mention a couple of these because I think only a couple are worth mentioning. You guys can look over this when you get the Nighthaunt book. I am a huge fan of Slitter.
Oh, yes, Slitter.
Yes.
I use it in our game.
It is a weapon upgrade, obviously. After picking the bear to fight, before they pile in, you pick 1 enemy model within 1 inch of the bear and roll a dice. If the roll is greater than the wound characteristic of that model, it is slain.
So this is not a new thing, like we've seen other things with this kind of ability.
But in this edition, it can be quite powerful.
Yeah, no, because you can split a unit in half.
Exactly.
If you pick out the one in the middle, then all of a sudden, especially if they've already fought, they won't be able to pile in to get into coherency, and then at the end, they're going to have to kill one side of that. The interesting thing that came up in our game is that you had the Slitter, and you made that 10 plus to charge.
Yep.
Which means that you immediately got to pick him to fight. So you got to use Slitter twice in the same turn.
That's why
you picked him to fight, because that actually says you pick him to fight. And so right there it says when he's picked to fight. Yeah. So you use it twice. You use it on a model, and then when combat phase came, you got to use it again. Yeah. So that was a nice stacking thing that happened with the Nighthaunt rule.
So that's why this one here it's closer to my favorite. Only because it has that potential. Say you charge a horde and they're spread thin. You go right in the middle and you kill that one zombie in the middle, and all of a sudden your opponent has to kill like 20 zombies in the battle shock phase. Unless for whatever reason those 20 zombies died to other combats, I'd highly recommend that you fight last with this guy. After everything else is already fought, you fight last with him because you go with the Slitter, and hopefully you don't kill kill as much as you can with his other weapons, but forcing the cleanup step after battle shock is huge.
Yeah. Or you can use it to pick off a banner or a champion.
This is true.
Or a musician.
A very effective secondary. You fight in Iron Jaws, you go and you take the banner out. All of a sudden their bravery is very bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they lose a lot of their bravery.
Or if you're just tired of a champion with a special weapon, or you're just tired of special weapons in general, you just walk up and you take out the special weapon. There's a lot of utility in that relic, and I'll probably find myself running that relic a lot, especially on a model that moves very quickly, like the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed. The other ones worth mentioning here were, which one was it? Actually, I think it was just Slitter. The other ones they didn't really impress me that much. It was mostly Slitter, the Midnight Tome, and the Covetous Familiar that I really liked. The rest of them are just, if you roll an unmodified roll of 6 to hit, it was D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends, which could be bad because a lot of your weapons just do flat 2 damage or flat 3 damage, so it can actually lower the damage your weapon might do. Reaper of Swords.
Depends on the weapon. You had to just pick that for the right weapon.
Yeah. The other ones are Reaper of Swords is okay. I'll mention this one because if you roll 2d6 higher than the bravery, the rank of your weapon it's changed to a characteristic of 3. It doesn't improve by 3, but
-3 is enough to negate almost all armor on the table, except for the really high 3-ups.
And then that's pretty much worth mentioning. If you want a weapon with high rend, you can go with that. But if the Slitter, I can't.
It's a lot of utility there.
I can't get over all the utility that weapon.
Well, even like the 5 wound models, you can walk up and be like 6.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, hero with 5 wounds. I have a 1 in 6 chance of just straight up killing you.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Dracoth Riders from Stormcast Eternals, right?
Yes.
They have a 3-up save, rerolling 1s. Super hard to take care of. You roll a 6 and it's dead. That's a 110-point model that just gets killed on a 6.
Yeah.
And that's not a once per game. That's after every time they fight, and that's twice if you roll an unmodified 10 or more. They also gave the inclusion of lanterns, which go on the Guardian of Souls, which is the caster. Like the Guardian of Souls is the caster. Now I'm kind of getting familiar with the names now. 3 new artifacts, +1 to his casting rolls. It's always okay. It's not a bad one. Again, if you bring 2 battalions, you get 3 relics.
+1 casting roll is pretty good.
Yeah, +1 to cast is always nice. Other than that, though, if you cast some spells, like they have a built-in spell. It's called Spectral Lure. If you get to pick a unit wholly within range and you heal D6 wounds to that unit. Now,
bringing back models.
And then if they already have full wounds, you can bring back D6 models that are equal.
D6 wounds worth of models.
Wounds worth of models equal to that characteristic, right? So you can bring back up to 2 hex rays if you roll. Sorry, up to 3 hex rays if you roll 6, or 2 spirit hosts if you roll 6. This relic just makes it D6 +3, which isn't bad. So you can bring back more guys. The last relic for the lanterns. Once per battle, at the start of the combat phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Nighthaunt units that are wholly within 12 inches, as opposed to his rerolling 1s.
Rerolling 1s, yeah.
So he just makes it reroll all failed hit rolls instead. Now, all 3 of these lanterns, I find are really good. So my ideal bring would be bring a Warscroll battalion, which I'm probably going to do every game, because I really like their Warscroll battalions. Bring the Slitter and bring one of these relics, these lantern relics. I think they're all super worth, because you're going to bring the Wizard. Next, you have your battle plans. You have your Path to Glory.
All cool.
All very cool.
Stuff we're going to cover.
Yeah. Next up, we have the Warscroll battalions, which I'm going to get into. They have their generic Nighthaunt procession, which is your battalion of battalions.
Probably thousands of points.
Yes, this one looks like it is probably around 4,000 to 5,000 points, because you need to bring a Shroud Guard, which is your kind of, here's your main HQ and his Royal Guard kind of thing. And then you have to bring 6 Warscroll battalions. you have to bring 6 other Warscroll battalions.
Even if those 6 Warscroll battalions average 80 points apiece, just the battalions are going to cost you 500 points.
Yeah.
Plus the points cost of the Nighthaunt procession, plus the points cost of the Shroud Guard. That's not even the points cost of the model. So this is clearly one of those 3,000-4,000 point games.
Here's your huge like apocalypse-esque game. What did they give a name to the big games for?
The Gathering of Might.
Is that what it's called? Gathering of Might? Okay, so here's your Gathering of Might battalion, essentially. Next up, we have the Shroud Guard. These are all new Warscroll battalions, obviously. Brand new battletome, brand new battalions. This one, you need a Knight of Shrouds, or the named character Knight of Shrouds, Reikenor the Grimhailer, who is a Knight of Shrouds that can cast spells, which is actually really nice. Getting more wizards is always nice.
Yeah. Okay.
And you need 2 units of Bladegeist Revenants, which are... they're not released yet. They're a new kit for the Nighthaunt, which are not in the Soul Wars box. They are kind of like the Horde guys, but they're more elite. Like the Graveguard to the Skeleton, if that makes any sense. This one you have Frenzied Fervor. Roll the dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the Bladegeist Revenant model from a unit that is wholly within 12 inches of the Knight of Shrouds or the named character. On a 5-up, you ignore that wound. And that replaces the Allegiance ability.
So it doesn't stack.
Exactly.
It's not 6-up and a 5-up.
Right. So in Age of Sigmar, you can stack those abilities. This Warscroll battalion says you replace it completely. And in the previous, the big battalion that we talked about, the only benefit you get there is it changes the wording from wholly within 12 inches to ignore wounds and mortal wounds on 6-up to within 12. That's all you get. This whole paragraph for that. And you know what? It actually took me a bit to find that change. I had to ask you. I'm like, oh,
it's the same. Oh, this was within. That's the problem with it, right? You got to catch that. Little changes here and there. The unmodified, the wholly within.
Exactly.
Got to be very careful about those things.
Next up, we got the Death Riders. This one has got...
Luka want this?
Yeah. So this is my favorite one. I don't know if you can tell.
I just wrote Luka wants this on the side.
This is the one I want. Unfortunately,
but we don't have all the stuff yet.
No, we need the new Black Coach, and we need the Dreadblade Horrors, which aren't released yet. So the Dreadblade Harrows. You get 1 to 2 units of Dreadblade Harrows, 2 units of Hex Rays, which you're all familiar with Hex Rays, and the...
Well, they're not all familiar with Hex Rays.
Oh, you should be familiar with Hex Rays.
You think the thousands of people watching this, all of them know what Hex Rays are?
Do you know what Leave a comment if you don't know what a Hex Wraith is.
It's just a horse rider.
It's a ghost on a horse.
It's a ghost on a horse with a scythe.
Yeah, he moves fast, has mortal wounds on a 6.
Yeah.
He's pretty good, actually. Yeah. He's not bad. Pretty fast, grabs objectives, really reliable. So you need 2 units of them, and you need the new Black Coach. Well, I shouldn't say you could use your old coach. You could use your old Black Coaches. You need a Black Coach. But you should get the new one. It's huge. It's on a Knight base, and it extends past the Knight base on both ends.
Jeez.
It's that long. They don't even have a base big enough to contain it. This one is my favorite one. I don't know if you were reading it. You get to add 1 to your charge rolls for units from this battalion.
That won't help the 10+.
In addition, if you make an unmodified charge roll for 9+, you get to fight.
Oh, it does help it.
Yes! Oh. It replaces the Allegiance ability.
But it's still unmodified 9.
Yes.
Which basically it's +1.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez.
That is so cool.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That is good. If you're wondering why we're making such a big deal about 9+, you're like, surely 9+ isn't that easy. It happens a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
These guys all come in from reserve. They're all near each other. They don't even have to. They all move fast. Unmodified 9s, fight. Unmodified 9s, fight. And, oh, the Black Coach is so good. I want to go into the Black Coach so bad. I just want to talk about all these new additions to this book, which we don't have yet.
Yeah.
We need.
We'll get them.
And then that's pretty much it. The last part of it stipulates that it replaces the Allegiance ability. A lot of these Warscroll battalions augment the Allegiance abilities in a better way and just replaces the old ability they had. It keeps it nice and simple, keeps the points low, and it just makes these are units you're going to bring anyway, so might as well bring them in a battalion. It costs like the Death Riders. I'm curious. I'll double check. It costs... That one's 130 points. That one's kind of expensive.
Okay. 130 points is not bad, though.
That is I think the most expensive one in here is 140. The rest are all 80 to about 60 to 80. The next one, we have the Condemned. This one is with a Spirit Torment. You have a unit of Chain Gas, which are the more elite Chain Rasp Horde, and 2 units of Chain Rasp Hordes. But the stipulation here is...
Sorry, back up a second. How many points is Death Riders?
130.
Okay, so it's the same as what's in the General's Handbook 2018. Okay. Which makes sense. I don't know why they would come out with this and then...
Yeah, no, it's weird that...
And the Black Coach goes up to 280 points from 120.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah. I think... Is he... Yeah, he's 280 at the back of this, I'd imagine. Yeah, 280.
Okay, yeah. So the way you find in the General's Handbook 2018 is the correct points.
Which is good. So I'm happy
So they didn't change it, like, literally the day that you got it.
Ah, that would be annoying. And the stipulation here, the Chain Rasp hordes have to be at least 20 man strong. You can't just bring 2 squads of 10. You have to have 2 squads of 20. So you have to have at least, you have to own 40 of them. Cruel Taskmasters, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by the Chain Rasp horde unit with this battalion while they're wholly within 15 inches of the Spirit Torment or Chain Gas. So the Chain Gas, what they do is they increase the range of the Spirit Torment's ability, which was wholly within 12, reroll 1. So now it's wholly within 15, reroll everything.
Nice.
That's simple. That one is, it's pretty reliable, especially if you want to play a horde army. Next guy, we got Chain Guard. You got a Guardian of Souls, which is the caster. You have a Guardian, or 2 squads of Chain Rasp hordes, and it's the same stipulation. They have to be at least 20 man strong. They can't be 10 man. Each time a Chain Rasp horde from this battalion is affected by Spectral Lure or Temporal Translocation, Spectral Lure being the spell that heals D6 guys, or brings back D6 guys for the Chain Rasp horde, you can return D6 slain models to that unit.
In addition.
In addition to what?
2d6.
Exactly. So each time one of these 2 hordes is affected by the D6 return models, it's 2d6.
Or Temporal Translocation spell.
You know what? I haven't been able to, I didn't find the Temporal Translocation spell. It's not on the list of spells.
Is it the one that he has? Is
no,
it his built-in spell?
No, his is Spectral Lure. See, no Temporal Translocation here. I couldn't figure out what it was. It's not an Allegiance ability either.
Spectral Translocation is what we're looking for, not Spectral Summons.
It's, what was it here? Temporal Translocation.
Oh, yeah, wait 2 seconds.
Yeah, you're curious now?
Okay, hold on. What is it with?
Guardian of Souls.
Guardian of Souls.
Yep.
Temporal Translocation, Temporal. If this was digital, I could do a quick search. Temporal Translocation.
See, I was looking for this yesterday and I couldn't find it. I only know what Spectral Lure is. I'm sure it's in here somewhere.
I don't know. I don't see it anywhere.
It could maybe
unless it's an ability. And
unless it's on Lady Olynder, maybe. But she's not even part of that battalion.
It might not be a spell. It might be just a Black Coach. Does he have Temporal Translocation?
He might actually. No, because Nimbus of Power is the one that heals things. Temporal Translocation?
I'm looking on camera. No, I can't find it.
I gave a brief look yesterday. I looked for about 5 minutes. I couldn't actually find
where are the Chain Rasp hordes. Yeah,
I don't know what Temporal Translocation is.
Actually, it says it's a spell.
I know. I don't know what it is, though.
Is it the one in Malign? Is it in like Malign Portents or something?
Maybe.
Or Malign Sorcery, sorry.
Oh, maybe. Okay, that's probably what it is.
Maybe it's a Realm of Death one.
Yeah, okay. It could be a Realm of Death one. Essentially, you heal double the amount of guys. And that's, if you're, I would probably, if I could play these guys, I'd play them in a horde aspect, and I would definitely bring this battalion. I love the idea. You could have 2 squads of 40 that are getting 2d6 back a turn, potentially. Especially if you bring, well, I guess no, it'd only be 1 unit, but that's still
2d6.
2d6.
For an army that doesn't resurrect much.
Now, the Execution Horde is the next one, which is the one I tried to bring, but I was short 1 Spirit Host, or at least
1 squad of Spirit Hosts.
1 squad of Spirit Hosts that were the new one. We have all the old ones on square bases, but I don't like them.
They're on square bases. That's a no-no now.
That's banned.
Yeah. Banned. Square bases are banned at MiniWarGaming.
This one, you need 1 Lord Executioner, which is out of the Sorrow box, and 3 units of Spirit Hosts. You subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target this battalion's Lord Executioner, while a Spirit Host unit is within 6 inches of the attacker's unit. In addition, add 1 of the hit rolls for attacks made by this Lord Executioner, while any Spirit Hosts are within 6 inches of that target unit.
So -1 to hit him, and +1 for him to hit.
Yes, as long as they're within range of the unit he's attacking and the unit that is attacking him. So it's not the best, but I mean, if you're
he just needs to stay with the Spirit Host.
Exactly, you just always follow Spirit Host around. Next, we have Deathstalkers. You need a Cairn Wraith, 2 units of Grimghast Reapers, which you'll see in the game. We only have 4 of them, so you need up to 20 of them because they come in squads of 10 minimum. And 2 units of Glaive Wraith Stalkers, which come in minimum of 4, so you just have 8 of them. After setup is complete, but before the battle begins, pick 1 enemy unit to be soul marked by this battalion. You get to add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this unit that target that 1 unit. So
could be useful.
It could be useful.
Especially if there's a big block of guys, you'd be like that huge unit, and then they just all go in there.
Yeah, and especially since you get +1 to hit and wound them. Now the Cairn Wraith and the unit of Grimghast Reapers they have the Reap-like Corn ability. So if they target a unit of 5 or more models, they get to reroll their failed hit rolls. So that's a nice little combination there. So if you pick that squad of 60 zombies, you send all of that into there, you could actually probably carve up that squad of 60 zombies pretty nice. I keep saying zombies. I can't think of any other hordes.
Grots. There's lots of hordes. There's lots of hordes.
I think that's what it's meant for.
Free people.
All three of those units are meant to kill hordes, especially the stalkers as well. They have 2 attacks each. All three of those units are meant to kill hordes. So you pick a horde, you try and take out the horde. We have the Shrieker Host, which is a Tomb Banshee, 2 units of Dread Scythe Herodans, and 2 units of Mirrormorn Banshees. Mirrormorn? Something like that. So these are all the Banshees that are in the book now. Not just the Tomb Banshee, you have 2 new units of Banshees. Reroll Battle Shock rolls of 1 for enemy units while they're within 6 inches of enemy units from the battalion at the start of the Battle Shock phase. In addition, this is a nice one, the Inspiring Presence command ability cannot be used. Cannot be used on enemy units within 6 inches from this battalion. Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
That's very powerful.
Yep. So you have these...
The reroll ones is already the thing that you see with a lot of death, the banners, right?
Yep.
And then all the other death ones, which is cool. But the fact that you can't use Inspiring Presence, because there's so many times where I'm like, hacking my way through a horde, and I'm like, oh, he's got a command point, so I'm going to hack through all of this. He's going to Inspiring Presence, and he's going to heal a bunch of them.
So there's a good combination, right? You have the Deathstalkers pick a horde unit, you bring the Shrieker Host, and they follow up behind them, and they always just kind of hover behind because they're okay in combat, but they're better at doing their ranged scream ability. And they just you kill 20 clan rats out of 40, and then you cannot take a battle shock phase, and then you're just losing.
And reroll a 1 that you might actually roll.
Exactly.
You're going to lose the rest of them.
Exactly. So that's a nice, those 2 battalions right there are a nice combination. The Shrieker Host alone is good. You see what I'm getting? I like all of these Warscroll battalions.
Well, that's good. It gives you options.
I'm not disappointed with any of these. And that's actually it. That's all. They don't have a lot, but the ones they do have, there's like...
Well, they're new. Remember, with the Stormcast Eternals, you're dealing with a third battletome?
Yeah.
A third battletome for them now? Or is
like
this their 4th battletome?
3 years of consistent releases as well.
Yeah, they've got so many models, they got to make more battalions for them.
Next up, probably the last thing we'll cover for this review, we have the new models that were released. Now, we'll go over just the new ones, because you guys are familiar with the old ones already, the Banshees.
And nothing changed except the unmodified rolls,
exactly.
Right? Nothing else changed for the
weapons
hex rays?
The attacks are the same, the save rolls are the same, all of that. Just unmodified, unmodified, unmodified. You just see that all over the place. Might as well start with the Mortarch of Grief, the overall leader of the Nighthaunt. Lady, well, I guess that'd be Nagash.
No, it's... Well, he's the overall leader of everybody.
But then Lady Olynder is the leader of, she's Mortarch of Grief, the Mortarch of the Nighthaunt. She's a little pricey, being at, what is Lady Olynder? Actually, I forgot already. Oh, 240 points? What? I thought she was 340. I misread that. My bad. So she's 240 points. She's pretty reasonable. She's only 7 wounds, though.
Yeah, she's your typical 7-wound hero.
Yes.
Like the mounted hero kind of power level.
Now, granted, she's not a monster, so she does have lookout sir capabilities. And she's a...
And cover capabilities.
Exactly.
Oh, no, cover doesn't help. Modifiers to your save don't count.
Yep, that's right. She's got a 4-up save, not a 3-up save, so she's got 7 wounds, 4-up save, could be easily killed.
Yeah.
She's not meant to be in combat.
But
she has got a ton of support abilities. That is her role. 240 points for what she does is insane.
Yes.
So, Ethereal, of course. Frightful Touch. She's got Banshees that follow her around. Unmodified rolls of 6 or mortal wounds. Grave Sands of Time. This is once per battle. In your hero phase, you can choose either to inflict D6 mortal wounds on an enemy hero within 6 inches, or heal D6 wounds that have been allocated to this model. More often than not, you're probably going to end up healing herself D6 wounds. Well, it depends. There's a lot of ways to heal.
Situation, right?
Like
if there's a hero that's really strong, he's got 2 wounds left, and he's about to pounce on you, you're like, okay, pew.
I'm thinking of a Mega War Boss. I hate them. I find that they're so hard to get through. Or maybe even like the Lord of Afflictions from Magikin. Super durable. He can ignore him on a 5-up, but that is a great way to do mortal wounds. Lifting the Veil. At the start of your hero phase, pick an enemy unit.
Every hero phase.
Oh,
sorry,
yes.
start of every one of your hero phases.
Yeah, sorry, at the start of your hero phase, pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of this model that is visible to her, and roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2-up, they suffer that many mortal wounds.
So it's basically D6 mortal wounds unless you roll a 1.
Exactly.
Just like that. Start of each your hero phases. You're like, D6 mortal wounds unless I roll a 1.
And
in addition,
if any enemy models are slain by this ability, immediately heal D3 wounds that have been allocated to this model. So she can heal herself.
So you look at that right there. That's 2 abilities. They're both in your hero phase though, so it's not like you've been hurt in their shooting phase. You can pop the D6 or D6 healing in their combat phase, but still you have 2 ways to heal back. So that 7 wounds all of a sudden can get recycled pretty well.
Exactly. So she only has 7 wounds. She's got that 4-up unmodified save, and obviously a 6-up to ignore damage.
Yeah. You bring her down to 1 wound though, and she's still going to be
go right back up to 7 super quick. You have to be careful. You have to kind of all out her. If you're going to kill her, or else she's going to stick around forever. She is the Mortarch of Grief. Add 1 to the number of models that flee from enemy units that fail a battle shock test while they're within 12 inches of her. Not wholly within 12, just within 12.
And you stack that to -1 bravery.
Yep.
You stack that with the 1 Warscroll battalion that they can't use Inspiring Presence.
Exactly, yep.
And you can get some really good combos.
There's a lot. If you can remember everything from this book, there's a lot of powerful combinations. Wail of the Damned, though this is her very powerful Banshee Scream, because it's like the, I can't remember what it's called, the Chariot from Legions of Nagash. It's the, I apologize, I can't remember what it is. It does the scream to everything around it as well.
I know which one you're talking about, I don't remember its name.
I'm just going to have to pass, I can't remember. That's a shame. At the start of your shooting phase, roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 10 inches of this model. If the roll is higher than its bravery characteristic, it suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Most likely -1 bravery.
Exactly. Looking at that -1 bravery.
So your hero phase, you pick a unit, and you do D6 mortal wounds unless you roll a 1, then heal. Yep. In your shooting phase, you aura everything within...
You do a big Banshee Scream around her.
For each enemy unit within 10 inches, and that does mortal wounds. Yep. Like you could rip something apart during your turn.
Once per battle within 6, D6 more mortal wounds.
On a hero.
You just throw out a ton of mortal wounds with this character. Yeah. She is obviously a wizard. She is a level 2 wizard. She can cast 2 spells.
Meaning she can cast 2 spells and unbind 2 spells.
She knows Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Grief Stricken, which is her built-in spell. Grief Stricken has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit that is within 18 inches of the caster and visible. Until your next hero phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls from attacks made by that unit and add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made against that unit. Yep. She's a bully. She is a bully. Again, going along the lines of she is a great support, and she can know 1 spell from the lores of the Underworld as well. So she could give out -1 to wound one of your hordes, and all of a sudden +1 to hit an enemy unit, and that unit's -1 to hit. And her command ability is, you can use this command ability in your hero phase if this model is your general and is on the battlefield. If you do so, you can return 1 slain model to each friendly summonable Nighthaunt unit within 12 inches of this model. So obviously you can't do Master of the Underworld, I believe, because she has to be your general and she can't take that command trait, but she replaces it with this command ability.
That's pretty good.
Which is pretty good. Lady Olynder at 240 points, super worth.
Yeah, like she can get sniped. That's the one downfall for her, but all that healing and all that mortal wound dealing, she doesn't have to stay alive very long to really get her points back.
Right.
And if you can get her into the thick of battle, like she's actually decent in combat as well. She's got 3 attacks, 3+3+, -2 rend, D3 damage.
Yep.
And then the 6 attacks. They're just 4+4+, but mortal wounds on 6s.
Yep.
Like that's a decent amount, but what I'm really saying is that she's good being there because then all those aura abilities just pulse off.
Yeah, she's just a walking aura. Some decrepifying.
Yeah, keep her more than 12 inches away from you, and then she can't do anything to you.
Kurdos Valentian?
Valentian. The Craven King.
The Craven King. Another named character added to the Nighthaunt. Actually, a really neat character.
His lore is that he wanted to be king so bad that they decided to make him not the king. And so he's the king, but he's not in charge.
Lady Olynder's in charge?
Yeah, and it really bothers him. And so he takes his wrath out on everybody else, she's like, fine, go do that to our enemies. So he's so mad. I'm like, I'm the king, but I have no power as king. He's just a figurehead.
Yeah, he's like a seneschal, I guess, maybe in one way, like a regent, maybe.
Is
he even that?
Like, I don't know.
I'm not too sure.
Cursed to sit upon a throne but never rule, the Craven King vents his anger by mercilessly smiting those his queen commands him to. So yeah, he just doesn't get to rule. Except he gets to be the general in the battle and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't get to rule his kingdom.
You could bring him as a general. Being a named character, can't really benefit from too many cool things. But he's got Ethereal, he's got Frightful Touch because he's got the attendants who touch people with their nasty claws. If I cannot roll, none shall roll. At the start of the enemy hero phase, after the opposing player receives their command point for that turn, on a 5-up, you subtract 1 from their command points.
You take away their command points.
On a 5-up, you steal your punishment.
Like, I don't get to be the king. You don't get to be the king either. So -1 command point.
That is his one really cool rule, and that could be devastating.
And you take it. You take it.
Yeah, you gain that command point.
Yeah, they don't just lose it. You get it. That's so annoying. I would hate that. I'd be like, yeah, command point, 5+. No, I hate you. I hate you, stupid king.
And he is looking at. How many points is he? 220. So he's actually 20 points cheaper than her. She's better than he is. She does a lot more damage than him. But that ability there could be potentially very powerful. Never allowing your opponent to Inspiring Presence. No command abilities at all. Your opponent would have to be very careful. Soul Crushing Smite, if non-modified wound roll for an attack made with his scepter is 6, it's D6 instead of D3 damage. And he's got 5 attacks with it.
He's actually decent in close
combat. He's really good in close combat. 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2 D3 damage to swing.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, right, like he does that unmodified 10 plus a charge. He's doing that twice. These guys are brutal in close combat. And Suffer No Rival, you can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made against the enemy general with your scepter only, not your 10-inch claws. He's okay? He's all right?
Yeah.
And for the third named character, Reikenor the Grimhailer, which is essentially Knight of Shrouds on a different kind of mount, and he's a wizard. He's a level 1 wizard. He has got corpse candles, though. This is new to him. Before this model attempts to cast a spell, you can say that it will snuff out a corpse candle. If you do so, you pick either this model or an enemy model within 12. The enemy model suffers one mortal wound. Oh, sorry. That model suffers 1 wound. If the mortal wound was suffered by an enemy model, add 1 to the casting roll. If the wound was suffered by this model, add 3 to the casting roll.
So you can hurt yourself, too.
Exactly. But there's a lot of ways to heal in this book. So you have to actually suffer the mortal wound. You can't just ignore it on a 6. So can you choose to ignore that rule? I'm curious.
I don't think so. I think it just says.
Because what is it? Deathless spirits. Yeah, roll a dice each time. So you could choose to allocate the wound to him for the +3 to cast and just
roll 6.
And
like,
oh, awesome.
The candle's like, poof. It just turns back on.
Candle comes back on.
You're like, oh, it didn't work.
He's got Ethereal Frightening Touch, which is the unmodified rolls for 6s, do mortal wounds. Reap Like Corn, where he gets to reroll hits against units of 5 or more. And he has Wraithstorm as his 1 built-in spell, because he can cast 1 spell, in addition to the basic ones. Casting value of 7. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 12 inches of the caster that is visible. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If any models of that unit are slain as a result, they immediately suffer an additional D3 mortal wounds.
So it could do 2 D3 mortal wounds.
It could do up to 2 D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, it doesn't keep going after that.
Yeah, it's just
that would.
Oh, that would be infinite. Yeah, because you pick a horde, they automatically lose 1 guy. There's going to automatically lose 1
other guy. That would be an infinite number of guys.
Yeah, it's just up to 2d6 mortal wounds. It's not the best, but it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's nice. 2d3 mortal wounds is.
Yeah, I just like the idea of having another wizard, just to have another spell from the lore of the underworlds,
or an
unbinding, or an endless spell, because magic is way more prominent in Age of Sigmar 2nd edition.
Thanks to Nagash.
Thank you, Nagash, making the game a little more interesting.
More magic.
More magic. Endless spells. We have the Knight of Shrouds and the Knight of Shrouds on Steed. Now, the Knight of Shrouds is the same as he was before. He had +1 to a friendly Nighthaunt unit while they're wholly within 12 inches of him. But it's used at the start of the combat phase now, as opposed...
That's his command ability.
That is his command
point.
Yes. So as opposed to using it in your hero phase before, you get to at least see if you charge first. Now, granted, if you do roll the unmodified 10 plus a charge, you have to fight in the charge phase, so you don't get to use it then. You only get the +1 in the actual fight phase.
Boo-hoo.
Exactly.
You get a free attack.
It sucks.
Oh, no.
Now, Knight of Shrouds and Ethereal Steed, I did make the mistake in the game we played, because I assumed his command ability was, I quickly read over it. His command ability gives +1 attack characteristic, as opposed to +1 to hit.
Which is more useful for hordes, less useful for the elites.
Exactly. And this one is wholly within 18. Other than that, though, he's just got the mount, which lets him move 12 inches. So
yeah, so that one made a double whammy, because you gave it to Unit of Spirit Host. You gave him +1 to hit. We rolled 5s to hit, which he then did mortal wounds with. No longer happens.
They would have had
and it should have been +1 attack, so they would have had 3 attacks more instead of their 18 of 21. And you've been like, screw that.
Like 50%.
You put it on the hordes, and all of a sudden the 2 attacks becomes 3. Yeah. That is huge.
Yeah, you have a squad of 40 guys, they're all 2 attacks, they're all 3 attacks each. It's very effective.
That is very powerful.
He gains 1 whole wound being on a mount as well.
Oh, really? Not 2?
Just 1. He goes from 5 to 6.
Fun. I think we played him with 7 wounds.
I think he actually had 7 on the card.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
I wonder if it's a misprint then. That's weird to knock it seems like an arbitrary thing to knock a wound, because they seem to have a consistent 5 wounds for heroes, 7 on mounts.
Yep.
They usually add 1 of that for like the big guys, like the orcs.
That's one thing I noticed when I was looking over the book, over the cards. He had 7 wounds on the card. I don't know why.
That seems strange. Anybody says it's a misprint, and they'll.
Like you're saying this should be 7?
Yeah.
You think this should be? You know what? I agree. I find it weird. He only goes up 1 wound.
Yeah, like I said, normally steeds give you an extra 2 wounds.
Nothing in the FAQ though.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Give it time. This is on pre-order, so you know.
I don't know.
It'll take some time.
Guardian of Souls. Here's your generic caster. He is a level 1 wizard. He is also a support hero in the fact that you get to add +1 to wound rolls for friendly Nighthaunt models while they're wholly within 12 of him. And his one build...
I think we were playing him as just within 9 inches. You got the +1 to wound.
It was the other guy that's within 9.
Oh, okay.
It's the Spirit Torment that rerolls hit rolls of 1.
When you're within 9.
Within 9.
Not wholly within.
Not wholly within. Yeah. Oh, you want me to? Spirit. Yeah. You can reroll hit rolls of. Oh,
well, they're wholly within 12. They did change it.
They changed it on the card. The card. Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm happy with that. You know why? Because they're both consistent with each other now.
Yes.
They're both.
It's easier to remember. Just like we were complaining that they didn't do. It turns out they did do.
I don't know. Like why? Like why would they? So they're both okay. Both the support characters are wholly within 12 now. This one is wholly within 12. You reroll. You add 1 to wound rolls. The other one's wholly within 12. Reroll hit rolls of 1. And he's a
powerful combo.
Yeah. When you have all your heroes together, your hordes and elite guys are all really, especially +1 wound. That's really good. Spectral Lure, we talked about it earlier, goes off on a 6. Pick a friendly summonable Nighthaunt wholly within 24. That's a huge bubble. He's got that bubble of 48 inches around him, and you get to heal D6 wounds to that unit. Or you can bring back models if you have a wound characteristic equal to whatever you roll. Next up, we have the Spirit Torment. This is the one that allows you to reroll 1s for hit rolls while you're wholly within 12. And he also has a secondary support ability of helping you out to heal. So at the start of the Battle Shock phase, if 3 or more enemy models were slain that turn, pick a friendly Nighthaunt unit within 6 inches of this model and heal D3 wounds that have been allocated to it. If Stormcast Eternals are slain, you just automatically heal 3. Now granted, if you bring multiple Spirit Torments, you can only do this for every 3 that are slain.
So you don't have 3 guys all turn off. You had to kill 9 in order to use all 3.
So you bring 3 Spirit Torments, you can only trigger all 3 of them if you slay 9 or more.
Now you can heal or you can bring back models.
Exactly. It's the same. You can either heal 3 wounds or bring back models equal to the D3 for the wound characteristic. The one you're used to from Legions of Nagash. Other than that, though, he's pretty good in combat. 3 attacks, 4s and 3s, -2. You're seeing a lot of -2 in this book.
Yeah, like they're ethereal and they're just kind of like passing through.
They kind of just go through armor. And it's just D3 damage. He himself buffs himself, forced to hit rolling 1s. The other guy makes him wound on 2s. So all of that to consider, they're pretty good. We have the Chain Gas, which are the not hero variant of this guy. In fact, they augment him. If you bring Chain Gas, the rule is called another link in the chain. While this unit is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Spirit Torment, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Nighthaunt units while they're within 12 inches of this unit. So they extend his range to 24.
Put him at the end, and then they have the wholly within 12 inches as well.
So you put him right in the middle, and you put 2 squads of them, wholly within 12 of him, and then all of a sudden you have this huge bubble across your entire line of Nighthaunt of rerolling 1s to hit. I don't know if that rerolling 1s to hit's pretty good. It's always nice to rely on.
It's a nice buff.
And
across the table.
These guys are pretty great because they have ranged attacks. D3, at 15-inch range, they kind of throw out their chains and they smack people. D3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound. Again, that -2, 1 damage. But their melee weapons are a lot like the Decimators from the Stormcast Eternals. They have attacks equal to the amount of models that are within 2, not wholly within 2, just within 2 of the attacks. So they would have, and they're 4s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage. Now, when you think about +1 to wound, they're wounding on 2s, rolling 1s. That could be a very devastating unit. That's pretty much all they have, other than the fact they're ethereal with a 4-up save. We have a hero, the Dreadblade Hero, which is a mounted support. He's cool because he's fast. If this model is more than 3 inches away from enemy models at the start of your movement phase, instead of making a normal move, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away.
Keep teleporting.
Every turn he teleports around the battlefield. He can't bring anything. He can't bring anyone with him. So it's just himself. But that is excellent for getting objectives on the flanks. If someone's ignoring an objective, he can get an objective every turn, which is very good. Especially for Scorched Earth. If your opponent gives up Scorched Earth, teleports back there, just burns it, gains you D3 victory points. He's got a Dreadblade. You get to add 1 to the damage characteristic of this model's Dreadblade. If you made a charge move in the same turn, add 1 to the attack characteristics if this model's Dreadblade, if it did not make a charge move in the same turn. And was there? Oh wait, no. I thought he could. There's something that can fall back and charge. It's not this guy. It's the guy on foot. Curse of Loyalty. Reroll wound rolls are 1 for attacks with this Dreadblade while it's within 9 inches of a Knight of Shrouds. That's kind of like a weird little rule. I don't know.
It makes it sound bad when I call it curse, but it actually helps him.
Yeah, he just has to be within Knight of Shrouds. The Lord Executioner, we used in the game. Nothing's really changed with him other than the fact that they changed from the card. Each wound roll of 6+ changes the damage characteristic of this weapon to 3. Well, it adds 2 to the already 1. Now it's unmodified roll of 6+. Why do they do this to me? I don't know.
The unmodified thing is good. It's just why do they change it in the Warscroll? We don't know.
And then Staring Death in the Face, you pick a hero, -1 to hit for them while they're within 3 inches. And then this guy can ignore mortal wounds on a 5-up in addition to the Deathless Spirits rule.
Those mortal wounds specifically.
Only mortal wounds though.
Yeah.
Not just any wound, only mortal wounds, which I forgot in the game we played, but it's the first time playing with it, so I have a lot of things. I do apologize. We have the Tomb Banshees and the Cairn Race, which are the same before, other than the unmodified. I double checked; the attacks are the same, the stats are all the same. We have the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, which you've seen in the battle report, or you may not have seen in the battle report, depending on whatever you watched first. They are a lot of attacks. Overall, they're not that great though. They get to reroll hit rolls if they charged or were charged. They hit on 4s, 3s to wound, no rend, 1 damage, 2-inch reach though. So that's
it's just mass attacks at that point.
Just a lot of attacks. Again, they fit in the 1 battalion that has a lot of attacks already that kind of cleave through hordes, so that's what they're supposed to do, I assume. The Grimghast Reapers are much like Cairn Wraiths, except they're a hero. The leader of this one has a special weapon though, and the way that works is you have to attack with the size first. After the size are done attacking, the size are just 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1, 1 damage. They get to reroll hit rolls, failed hit rolls if they have 5 more models in the enemy unit. The Death Knell, though, is 1 attack, 3s and 3s. This is a special weapon that the sergeant or the leader can take. It's -1 rend, 2 damage. For each enemy model that is slain by wounds inflicted by the Death Knell, you can inflict 1 mortal wound on an enemy unit within 3 inches of of the model armed with the Death Knell. So every time you slay a model, and it's 2 damage, so you could slay up to 2, you just do 2 more mortal wounds to that unit.
You could actually slay up to 4 if you use a Night Shroud to give him +1 attack.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. You could pick this unit to give him +1 attack, and all of a sudden he's got 2 attacks, and you can just do 4 more mortal wounds. Again, it's meant to kill hordes, because you want to kill as many models with it as you can. At 2 damage, you can kill 2 models in a horde, 2 more mortal wounds.
Or you have a hero nearby, and you can throw the mortal wounds on him
This is true as well, yeah. Oh, I like this unit. They come in squads of 10. Unfortunately, the Soul Wars box gives you 4. Why do they give
you double the Soul Wars box? You still don't have enough for a min squad.
Exactly. The Stalkers, which I just talked about, they come in minimum squads of 4, and they give you 5 in the box. Why don't they give you 5 Reapers and they give you 4 Stalkers?
I don't know.
Why do they do that?
Are you sure you didn't just look at the model wrong?
Like, no.
I know you didn't.
Look at this. 10 Stalkers, 4. It's frustrating. The Train Rasp Horde is the next one. It's your generic. Here's 40 guys in a horde. You could bring 10, but when they come in, they don't gain bonuses for 40, but they're hard to get off the table at 40.
As soon as you have 10 or more, they reroll wounds of 1 though.
Yes, this is nice. So you're almost always gonna have that benefit unless they're near dead and they're almost pointless at that point. 2 attacks base though for them, which is nice. 4s to hit, 4s to wound. Rerolling 1s to hit if they're near a hero. Rerolling 1s to wound on their own. +1 to wound if they're near the Spirit Torment.
Yeah, so they're your basic kind of like, here's a bunch of guys, now buff them and make them really good.
You put them right in the middle.
That's 4+4+, that's 1 and 4 will actually do a wound, and then there's a saving throw, so they're not going to do any damage until they get buffed.
Exactly. One interesting thing about them is they're Bravery 6, unless you have their leader, which is a Dread Warden. If he's alive, you go up to Bravery 10.
So all Nighthaunt stuff is Bravery 10 except them.
Exactly. Everything across the board, Bravery 10. Except for them.
So if you have anything that can pick off the hero or pick off the character,
you could carve through these guys pretty quickly.
Then all of a sudden they're Bravery 6. That's a weird thing. Because
it is odd.
They're all just Bravery 10 except for this one unit. There's probably some lore reason why that's the case, but it's still strange.
Maybe.
It's still strange.
All I can say is be careful with your Dread Warden. Don't put him in a bad spot where you pick him off. Make sure he's, I guess, always kind of near the front is where he'd be safest, maybe. It's always hard to tell. You don't want to lose him. The Blade Geist Revenants are next. These guys aren't out yet. We don't have them yet, at least. They're not in the Soul Wars box. They have Ethereal, 4-up save, 1 wound. Fearful Frenzy. You can reroll failed hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if it is wholly within 12 inches of enemy spirit torments or chain ghast. Those are the guys that reroll 1. So these guys just simply reroll failed hit rolls if they're in range. And Whirling Death. This unit can retreat and charge in the same turn. In addition, add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's Tomb Great Blades if it made a charge in the same turn.
Oh, so you want it to actually charge. You want to just back up and charge back.
Yeah, you're always falling back and charging with them. They move 8 inches, so they're fast. And they are 2 attacks each, 3s, -1, 1 damage. They're essentially a paladin from the Stormcast Eternals. They're like that paladin stat line for attacks.
Yeah.
And of course, if you roll that 10+ to charge on modified, you get to fight twice.
Yeah, you always, so you really want to.
You're always falling back
with them and charge because you always have the chance to attack extra and get 1 extra attack.
And they're always, you're always. We have the Mirrormorn Banshees, which is a new type of Banshee. They can come in a unit, actually a pretty large unit of 10. They're ethereal. These guys are spell eaters. Now they're unique. They can dispel spells, and if they do so, they get bonuses on their weapons. But
unbind spells.
Sorry, you're right. Unbind spells, but they can only unbind within 18 inches instead of the normal 30.
It's the old unbind range.
If they Once in each enemy hero phase, this unit can attempt to unbind within 18 inches. And if they do so, you get to add 1 to attack characteristics of their chill dagger. So all of a sudden their daggers become 2 attacks each. Hit on 4s, wound on 3s, -2 D3 damage. And a unit of all 2 attacks with that kind of attack characteristic could be pretty good. And then they can also attempt to dispel endless spells, as long as they're within 6 inches of it, though. But if they do dispel that endless spell, they take D3 mortal wounds.
Oh, so they actually like hurl themselves into it to make it go away.
And then, of course, if they successfully dispel it, they get to add +1 to their attack characteristic. And then I think we're getting near the end for the new units. Yeah, because it's just this and then the Black Coach. The Dread Scythe Herodans. The leader gets +1 to their attack. They're ethereal. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy models within 3 inches of this unit, unless they have a bravery characteristic of 6 or more. Now, granted, they're always going to reduce the bravery characteristic of enemy units, so 7 or more, I guess. You need to have, to actually ignore that modifier. If an unmodified wound roll for attacks with their side limbs is 6, it's damage 2 instead of 1. Their 4s, 3s, -1 damage. They're part of that 1 battalion you need to bring to stop Inspiring Presence from happening, so
you'll see them.
They're not bad. You'll probably see them on the battlefield. I think that's a very good battalion. Then you have your Spirit Host and Hex Rays. The only changes there are the unmodified hit rolls of 6 are mortal wounds instead of 6+. Lastly, one of the biggest additions, my favorite addition, is the Black Coach. This is what I'm most excited for. Not to mention, it's a huge model, beautiful model. They even have like a little ghost on the back kind of carrying like an honor sword. I think it's really cool. It's like a little minor thing. So its Evocation of Death ability has changed. It's gone up to 280 points, so it's more than twice the old Black Coach cost. But it's got 12 wounds now. It moves further. It's got, well, I guess Bravery 10 doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's got Ethereal, Frightful Touch, unmodified. Hit roll for an attack with a relic. Yep. Evocation of Death now. This is the biggest change to it. What does it move? It moves 14 instead of, I think, the previous 10. Yeah, it moved 10 before, now it moves 14. If you look at the wound characteristics, the wound chart of it, if you look at the 5 to 7 damage chart, it's got the exact same stats as the old Black Coach. So its higher wounds is the better Black Coach. The Evocation of Death works differently now, completely differently. Before, you roll a d6 for each Karen Wraith and Tomb Banshee that was in range of it, and for each roll of a 6, you would level up.
Up a level.
But now, at the start of each battle round, not hero phase or anything like that, you roll 3 dice for each Black Coach on the battlefield, and for each 4-up, it levels up. So it just always levels up easily. You don't have to
level up once or twice.
Exactly. If you're lucky, you'll level up 3 turns in the first turn. We'll go over its level ups now. The first level, in your hero phase, heal D3 wounds that have been allocated to this model. In addition, at the start of your hero phase, pick a friendly summonable Nighthaunt unit wholly within 12 and return D3 slain models to that unit.
Jeez.
So it goes back to the D3 slain models. It's not heal D3 wounds, just bring back D3 slain models. I think this guy is, like, not a must bring, but he helps the army out so much. Just that first level, which you're almost
guaranteed to get.
Almost guaranteed to get on the first try.
Yeah, what, 87.5% chance of getting it?
You should be very upset with yourself if you don't. And then the returning models must be set up within 12 inches of this model. The second level is Unholy Vigor. This is akin to what it previously had. Reroll hit rolls of 1 for this model's melee weapons. In addition, it can run a charge on the same turn. I think that was a higher level before, though, so now it's just a second level upgrade. The third level is Spectral Scythes. This is also a similar one. After this model completes a charge move, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of this model and roll a dice. On a 2-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. It was a 4-up before, I believe. So that was a nice buff there. The fourth level, it can retreat and charge in the same turn.
It can retreat, run, and charge.
Exactly. So it is fast.
And you get that 10+ to attack.
Exactly. So you can always,
if you can retreat and charge in Nighthaunts, you always retreat.
You should always retreat and charge. So it's always
there's no back, Overwatch or anything. There's hardly any disadvantage.
And it does D3 mortal wounds on a 2-up as well.
Right.
The fifth level, Witchfire. In your hero phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches on a 4-up. They suffer D3 mortal wounds.
Nice.
Each enemy unit within 3 inches takes D3 mortal wounds on a 4-up. This thing throws out a ton of damage. It obviously has a Karen Wraith on it, so it's got his the Karen Wraith Scythe. And he's got the Replay Corn, so you get to re-roll. I think it's just for the Scythe. Yeah, just for the Scythe attack.
This is running around just murdering everything.
Yeah, it's just, it does what it used to do in 6th edition Fantasy. It used to, like, every time it would hit something, it would gain charges, and its wound characteristic would go up for each charge it has, and it could go over its maximum wound characteristic. So you could have a Black Coach running around with, like, 20 wounds. And it was pretty good back then. And that's the Black Coach. That's pretty much it. We have the 3 new endless spells, but
we haven't really had a chance to
we don't have the models.
So we're not going to really talk much about them yet.
The only thing that I would say that's significant about these endless spells is that All Nighthaunt wizards can cast them, and Nagash, Supreme Lord of the Dead. Obviously, Nagash knows these death spells.
He's Nagash.
He is Nagash.
He get better.
And they work on a model-to-model basis. They pass over, instead of passing over units or ending near units, they pass over models and they end near models. That's pretty much it. That's the Nighthaunt book. Other than points, I guess if it's worth mentioning, the FAQ mentioned what units you're allowed to bring in a Legions of Nagash army. It's everything in the Soul Wars box.
Pretty much.
For the simplicity of it, because it's in addition to the stuff that was already in Legions of Nagash. Guardian of Souls, Night of Shrouds, Lord Executioner. Yep. It is your Soul Wars box, can be played with any Legions of Nagash army, but anything else cannot. Like Lady Olynder cannot go in there. All the name characters cannot go in there. As actually, and
a lot of the new units.
And like all of the new units, yeah, all of the units cannot go in there.
So nice book. And it was a lot of fun to play against. It had a lot of cool, scary abilities, but at the same time, it wasn't like they were ridiculous. It was more they were very thematic. The 10+ thing, of course, being the more destruction thing is still.
You said the last time you're going to mention was in the beginning.
Yeah, I know. I lied. It's forgivable though, because it's still when you combine it with all those different abilities. It's
yes,
like, oh, that's cool.
All the falling back. Because
it wouldn't be destruction to retreat charge. That's not destruction.
It's
destruction
like the
would
ghost
be like
thing where like
they're more just like passing through you.
Exactly, you just keep passing through. You keep going.
That's very death-like. That's very Nighthaunt-like. So that's really cool.
Well, all in all, I think I was going to say super fun book. Very pleased with it. I don't know how competitive it is.
Have to wait and see.
Well,
competitive is always usually based on one part of the book, right?
Right.
So usually they find that one combo that works really well, and that's what you see.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of choices in here, so I bet there will be some competitive things.
It's like you have to think, what's better, Legions of Nagash? What do you think is better, Legions of Nagash or Nighthaunt?
Well, they're different now. That's like saying what's better, Iron Jaws or Stormcast Eternals. It's like, well, who cares?
Exactly.
They're two separate armies now, and they differentiate the Nighthaunt enough that it doesn't just feel like Legions of Nagash. You like them a lot.
I do.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go and check out, if you have not already, the Stormcast Eternals review, as well as the battle report of Stormcast Eternals versus Nighthaunt using the new books, mostly.
I can't believe the stupid cards are different.
Yeah. It didn't affect the game too much.
What an oversight, though.
But it didn't affect the game too much.
No, it was fun.
I can say that.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome game. So go check it out.
It was a fun game. Please watch that game, everyone.
It was a great game. Thanks so much for watching. Happy wargaming.